Hi friends, Sarah here from Sunset Bow, and I'm doing a VR to Jolly Old Tarot's video on his major life lesson spread. I thought that was a really interesting looking spread. Felt like it was a kind of spread that could give a lot of really interesting answers, and I was very curious to see what might come up for me if I gave it a whirl. So here I am giving it a whirl. So I'm going to be using the Fountain Tarot for this particular reading. I've got this pretty recently, but in working with it, I found that it can give some really clear messages, and it seemed like, that was a good kind of energy to have for a spread like this, where it's kind of going after some really major stuff in your life. So I decided to work with a fountain. Okay. So the first two positions in this spread represent the most recent major life lesson that I have learned. So it's two cards in this position. So we'll pull up Seven of Coins here and the Page of Coins. So what this is telling me as far as recent major life lessons that I've had to learn, the Seven of Coins, I really feel like is a place where you come to a crossroads and you decide whether or not you want to continue on the same path. And this is something that's happened to me recently in my job. I've had a really great job for a long time. I've been at the same company for 10 years, and there was a period in my life when that job was really interesting and fulfilling to me, and it just isn't anymore. So I feel like, the Seven of Coins, it really shows you coming to a point where you're assessing the progress that you've made so far, and you're making a decision about how you feel about that progress. And, I've made a lot of progress, but I've really come to the point where I honestly feel like I need to make a change in direction. I need to start doing something different. And so that's where you see the Page of Coins come in. I mean, the Page of Coins obviously is all about, learning something new, taking that new direction in the area of work and my material circumstances. And that's definitely something that I've been feeling the urge to do very strongly. So I'm very interested in, pursuing, I've applied for some new jobs. I'm very interested in pursuing a change of career in some ways, and I'm sort of at that place where I'm really ready for a new direction. So this is really making a ton of sense to me in terms of what I've achieved so far in my life, and there's been nothing bad about what I feel like I've achieved, but I'm at the point where I'm sort of looking at it and saying, you know what, I think there's something different I could be doing here, and this kind of represents that something different that I could be doing. So the next position is, how did I learn that life lesson? What energy did I bring in that allowed me to really absorb this lesson? And what I've got here is Temperance. And that is fascinating because, a lot of what I have figured out about my current job is that it really only kind of feeds one side of my brain. There is a side of my brain that is very logical and very goal-oriented and very much the type of thing that really is important in my current job. But the side of my brain that isn't being fed by my current job is the side where I've got a cat jumping up here. Let's put you on the floor, sweet. Oh, there we go. So the side of my brain that isn't being fed by that is the side of my brain that is emotional, the side of my brain that that likes to interact with people, that likes to support people, that really likes to, make people's lives easier. And, my current job, I don't really do that at all. You know, there is no element to that job of, you know, collaborating with people in such a way that that it improves their lives and makes things easier for them. And so, you know, knowing that in any new job that I go after, I need to have some of that balance where I am not just using that sort of, you know, logical side of my brain, but also using the side of my brain that is really focused on helping people, nurturing people, caring for people, is something that has been a big realization for me. You know, there's been something lacking in my job up to this point, and that's part of why I'm seeing that need to take that new direction. So that concept of balance that's embodied by temperance for me in this situation is the balance between the two parts of my brain, and making sure that both of those sides of me are really nourished by any new job that I might pursue. You know, making sure that it makes use of all my abilities and not just half of my abilities. So the next two positions in this spread are a current life lesson that I am learning. And what we've got here is the Two of Cups and the Six of Cups. So, and this is really interesting because, you know, the Two of Cups obviously is really kind of the most positive card about relationships in the deck. And, you know, I've actually been single for a pretty long time. And it's been something that I have, you know, definitely been thinking about recently. I haven't had any desire for a while to be in a relationship, or to boy, getting personal with this spread already, any desire to be in a relationship, or any desire to sort of pursue that kind of feeling that the Two of Cups embodies. But then we also have the Six of Cups here, which I find really interesting because, you know, very recently I spent a lot of time with my niece and nephew. They come to visit every summer up where I live. My sister and brother-in-law live kind of far away, but my niece and nephew come to visit every summer, and they stay for quite a while. And so I've been spending a lot of time with kids recently, and my sister is kind of leaning on me to actually move closer to them. And I'm actually really strongly contemplating doing it because I want that closer family relationship. I want to be closer to the kids, and you know, I want stronger relationships with those members of my family. And so it's something that I'm really debating right now, is whether or not I should actually pick up and move to be closer to those members of my family. So this is really something that I am struggling with right now. Apologies for the sound of my cat going nuts on her scratching post and meowing for no reason. So yeah, this really resonates with the thing that is uppermost in my head right now, you know, forming stronger relationships with people who I really care about, and being closer with the kids that I love so much. So yeah, that's really significant to me. So the way that I learned that lesson is the Magician. And what the Magician is really telling me is that I have control over my world, and I can make my world what I want it to be. So, you know, I feel like this is sort of saying, hey, if you want to move, then move. You can make that happen. You can find a new place to live. You can find a new job. You can do all of those things that would enable you to actually have these emotional connections, stronger emotional connections that you've been desiring. All you got to do is do it. So yeah, boy, that's a really powerful, message for me. And it's something that I'm really going to have to think about really strongly. I find it so interesting that my cat is going crazy again. I find it so interesting that in both of these cases I've had two cards from the same suit, and then a major as the way that I've been learning that lesson. Like that's really fascinating. Here I had two Pentacles and Temperance, and then I have two Cups here and the Magician. So so that's really fascinating. I mean, clearly the lessons, the way that I've been learning those lessons has been you know, some pretty strong energy that I've been bringing into my life. So so I think that's really amazing. So yeah, I have control over my own destiny here, and I can manifest what I want to see in the world. And if what I want to see in the world is these things, then I can do that. So the next spread positions are the next major life lesson that I'm going to be learning in my life. So here we have the King of Wands and the King of Swords. Okay, so boy, there's so much like weird synchronicity happening in this reading. This is kind of blowing my mind. So so this is really interesting because of all of the characters in tarot, I feel like these are the two characters that I'm least like, but they are the two characters that that really embody in a lot of ways a way of being that I would want to be like, you know. Like I said about my job, you know, I really haven't been pursuing my passions to a great extent, and the King of Wands is all about, you know, pursuing your passions in a way that makes them reality. You know, I mean, the King of Wands is this person who, he's an entrepreneur. He's the guy who starts the business. He's the guy who goes after what he wants to go after, and really makes that happen in his life. And so this is really meaningful to me because, again, it's really telling me that the next thing I need to learn is that the things that I am passionate about, I can take action to make those things a part of my life, make them real. And the King of Swords is telling me that I need to do that in a, you know, in a clear-sighted way, in a logical way. You know, I can't just go off willy-nilly just doing whatever I feel like. I have to have a plan, and I have to make sure that I'm approaching all of these things in a way that makes sense and isn't reckless and is, you know, where I just fully have all of the steps laid out. So, you know, what this is basically saying to me is, yes, you can make happen the things that you want to make happen in your life, as long as you make sure that you're doing it strategically and you're doing it, you know, you're using your head when you do it. So this is pretty amazing to me. And I've had some thoughts about various things. I don't need to get into them too specifically, but various things that I could be doing kind of next with my life. And what this is telling me is that the lesson I need to learn is that as long as I have a plan, I can make those things happen. So here we're going to have now how I can learn this lesson, how I can bring that energy into my life. And this is very interesting. I've got the Three of Swords coming up here for how to learn that lesson. And, you know, kind of what that's telling me is, and this bums me out a little bit, but it's telling me that I might have to learn that lesson through potentially some failure starting out. You know, I might have to learn that lesson through some like real difficulties that I might face initially. And, you know, the way that I learn that is by making sure that I get through those difficulties, and that I don't let them stop me. You know, so much about the Three of Swords, I mean, it's such a raw card. You know, it's so much about just like feeling that pain. And what this is telling me is that, again, you know, even when the pain happens, I am in control. You know, I am in control of my destiny. So no matter what setbacks I experience, I will still have that ability to you know, to make happen what I want to have happen. But I may have to come to that understanding through having some really, really painful setbacks at first. All right, and so the final card is just, and now we've got another cat. I have two of them. So the final card is just, you know, what have I learned overall from all of these various life lessons? And what we've got here is the Moon, and that is really interesting. The Moon is kind of a very significant card for me, because something that I really struggle with a lot is I struggle with self-doubt. And, you know, the Moon is so much about trusting the journey. You know, what I have difficulty with is, in terms of moving forward in my life, is a lot of fear. You know, I have a tendency to experience a lot of fear, and I have a tendency to really downplay my own capabilities and to, you know, really tell myself that I'm not capable of doing things, that I don't have the abilities, that I don't have the skills, that I'm not as smart as I think I am, I'm not as good at things as I think I am, and, you know, just kind of like falling prey to all of those scary shapes in the darkness that look like monsters, but they're not actually, you know. And so much of the Moon is about, you know, not falling prey to those fears and illusions, understanding that even though you can't necessarily see what's on the path ahead of you, you have to trust that you're heading in the right direction. And so this is like really, really meaningful to me. You know, this is telling me that that is going to be my biggest obstacle always, is those fears, those illusions, you know, those doubts and worries, and that I need to keep putting one step in front of the other. You know, it may be a dim light, but I can still find my way forward on this path. I just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. So wow, this spread was amazing. This really got at so many of the huge things that I'm really facing in my life right now, and the things that are uppermost in my mind. You know, change of job, potential move to be closer to family. What do I do next? You know, how do I pursue my passions in a way that I can actually make them reality in my life? And then just overall, you know, what is the major obstacle to me accomplishing things, and how can I push past that? Excuse me. So wow, this really hit home for me. This is an incredible spread. So thank you so much to Jolly Old Tarot for posting the video on this spread. I really loved doing this reading. I think that this is going to become a spread that I will do again in the future. And yeah, I've learned a lot. So thank you so much, and thank you for watching. Have a good one. Bye-bye.